I remember the sound our boots made on broken asphalt. 5 of us walking in a crooked line, sometimes 6 depending on the day, but mostly 5. Just moving forward because stopping felt like surrendering. And we had already seen too much to believe that standing still wouldn't kill us. Jared always walked at the front, never too fast, but never slow either. As if the road meant something, as if there was still a place ahead that hadn't burned or bled or vanished. And maybe we followed him because none of us were ready to say it out loud, that there were no safe places left, not really, just patches of less ruin, flickers of almost hope, and that was all we could chase. Mira barely spoke. She kept her hand in her coat pocket the whole time, like something was in there she couldn't let go of. I never asked, but I knew it was a photo. Maybe of her daughter, maybe of her past self. And sometimes when the fire died down at night, I'd hear her whispering, soft and hollow, like a prayer, or like someone trying not to forget how to be human. Jonas was the youngest, 17, maybe 18, but his eyes had already aged past the point of return, wide and wary, like he hadn't slept in years, like he couldn't. And when he did sleep, his hands would twitch, reaching for things he couldn't find anymore. Then there was Emil, the one who cracked jokes, told us movie plots we barely remembered, sang half lyrics to songs nobody played anymore, like he thought laughter might keep the cold away. But you could hear it if you listened close, his voice trembling just beneath the words, like even he knew it was all collapsing. And then there was me. I guess I was the one who still tried to hold on to stories, even when there was nothing left to write on. No paper, no pens, just thoughts echoing in my skull, loud enough that I had to let them out somehow, or they'd start to rot. We found a cabin near the edge of a dead river, barely standing, its roof sagging like it was tired of existing. But the door still opened, and there was space inside, space enough to lie down and pretend we weren't dying. We didn't speak that night, not much anyway. Just the crackle of the fire and the quiet rustling of coats being pulled tighter. But the night was wrong, heavier than usual, colder, not in the air, but in the way we looked at each other, like we knew that one of us wouldn't be there when the sun came back. I don't remember sleeping. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I blinked too long and slipped. But when I opened my eyes, Mira was gone. Her coat was folded neatly beside the wall. Her footsteps led out into the snow. But there were no prints leading back. No one said a word. Not Jared, not Jonas, not Emil. We just stared at the empty space where she should have been, and then we packed up and moved on. Not because we were ready, but because we couldn't stay. The silence she left behind was too loud. A few days later, Jonas got sick. Not the kind you get from radiation or hunger. The kind that comes from giving up. His breath turned shallow, his skin pale like wet paper. And he didn't cry, didn't ask for help. He just leaned against a tree and said he'd catch up later. But we all knew he wouldn't. Jared left a half can of beans beside him. Emil gave him his gloves. And I couldn't say anything, not a single word. Just stared at him until my chest burned and I had to look away. By the time we reached the old rail bridge, there were only 3 of us left. Jared had stopped leading, his steps slower, heavier. Emil had stopped joking. And me. I just wrote stories in my head that no one would ever read. Stories about people who survived, who found warmth and food and quiet, even though I knew those stories were lies. One morning I woke to the sound of wind, not strong but sharp, the kind that cuts through silence like a knife. Jared was gone, just gone. No note, no trace, like he had stepped out of the world, the same way Mira had, quiet and final. Emil and I didn't speak. We didn't ask why. We just stared at the empty spot beside the fire and tried not to feel anything. A day later, we passed a house with smoke coming from the chimney, the first sign of life we'd seen in weeks. Emil stopped, stared at it like it was the answer to everything, and then he smiled, the soft kind of smile that says goodbye, and said, "You go ahead. I just want to check it out." I watched him walk toward the house, watched him knock on the door, and I kept walking. I didn't hear a shot, didn't see any blood, but I never saw him again. Now it's just me, again, walking roads that never end, toward places that don't exist, haunted by voices that only I remember. I keep thinking I should stop, just sit down and let the cold take me. But something always keeps me moving. Sometimes I feel like I'm not walking toward anything at all, just away from everything I've lost. And the worst part, the part I never say out loud, is that I don't even know if I'm hoping to survive anymore, or just too afraid to die.